Hey, good Tuesday morning or good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Tech Tuesday. My name is Ed Lozano, as always, joined by my colleague, Luis Munoz. Good morning, Luis.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome, everybody. This is the Tech Tuesday, the ultimate NAB wrap-up show. We want to introduce you all to products that we introduced at NAB just a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas. So if you weren't able to come out to NAB, this is going to be the place where you can see what we introduced, ask your questions. We definitely want to have Q&A here. So if you have any questions at all during the session today, please click on the Q&A icon there and ask your questions in there. And Joyce, Luis, or myself will can get to your questions there. Let's talk about some of the products that we did introduce at NAB. It was a huge NAB, don't you think, Luis?
Absolutely. Yeah, we had quite a bit of them. So some of the big ones were, LiveU. We had LiveU Studio. Was a big one. We also had LiveU Ingest. And obviously we were also showing some of the new things with Matrix, kind of the new UI integration that we have. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff. That's all part of the LiveU ecosystem. And the LiveU ecosystem is the heart of our product line there, where we have all these products and services come together. But let's take a deep dive. Let's start going into some of the products. One of the newest ones that was introduced this year at NAB was LiveU Studio. And let me go ahead and share my screen here, and we can take a look definitely at LiveU Studio. And what LiveU Studio is our cloud production studio. So now you should be able to see my screen. So this is LiveU Studio. At first glance, it looks like your production studio that you use day in and day out. On the left side here, we've got our preview side, and on the right side, we have our program side. But LiveU Studio has a twist to it, and that is that now that we can bring in our field encoders, our field units that you use day in and day out, we can actually bring that into LiveU Studio now. For example, I've actually got a LiveU 800 in the backyard here, tied to a bird dog camera, and looks like we've got some friends out here, some visitors today. But this is actually an example of how we could bring in one camera, two cameras into LiveU Studio. So if you're using an LU 800, we can bring those sources directly in via LRT, LiveU's Reliable Transport System. We can bring those directly into the studio, and you can switch these sources. I've actually got a LU 300 right behind me here that's playing a Las Vegas clip. So this is an example of another LiveU unit that can come directly into the system, natively in. And the great thing about the system is that I don't have to use my physical MMH servers that I have at the office or at the station. I can actually bring these in via virtual MMH receivers. So the workflow would be your field encoder coming directly into LiveU Studio. Now, of course, you can still use your physical MMH servers if you want to for that workflow. You would just go from your field encoder into your MMH server and your MMH server directly into LiveU Studio. Now, other clips and assets and videos we can bring in directly into LiveU Studio. Now, remember, this is a cloud system, so everything lives in the cloud. I actually have a Lenovo laptop here to the right of me here, but we're actually talking the clips and assets that are in LiveU Studio in the cloud. So for example, we've got this spinning globe here. I've got a weather clip here as well. And of course, we can bring in graphics. We can bring in your JPEGs, your PNGs. We can put in bugs. Those are very easy. This is a PNG with an alpha on it. LiveU Studio also has its own built-in graphics engine that's great. So we can add different backgrounds and functionality into the studio product. But we also have capabilities with other third parties. For example, I've got a Singular that I'm using here, and I can go ahead and put, actually, no, I don't have that, so my apologies. But we could bring in third-party applications like Singular.live if you want to bring in other graphic systems as well. Double boxes, graphics, we can do it all, and it's never been easier in LiveU Studio. So for example, we've got the animation here and the LU800 on the right. I can actually do a push up and bring that straight up full screen here. And then of course, we can take that straight down. Now callers, we can bring in callers very easy with LiveU Studio, low latency. So maybe from an iPad, an iPhone, Android, or a laptop, we can send an invite to a guest and bring them in low latency. For example, I've got Alex Joyce here that's joining us. He's actually working in his office, and he's actually joining us via an iPhone. So Alex is coming in ultra low latency, and then we're able to then send Alex a choice of multi-views that go back to him, so we can select what he sees. He can see a program preview. Maybe he needs to see a video clip or another live camera to talk to. We can do that all within LiveU Studio. Let's talk about audio. We do have an audio mixer built into LiveU Studio, and we can actually manipulate that here. We can bring up all our sources at once. We can bring in all our callers. Alex is listed on here as well. On the far right, you can see my audio right here in the center. So we can control that all within Studio. Now, the one key feature about LiveU Studio is collaboration. Collaboration is at the heart of LiveU Studio. And what do I mean by that? Well, I can have Luis, who's up in Dallas, Texas, and I'm in San Antonio, Texas, and we can both collaborate in Studio together at the same time. So let's say Luis is directing the show, he's cutting his show in here, and he needs to step away for a second. I can jump into the same show and then take over until Luis comes back, or he can be punching the show, and then I can be running audio all within the same platform. We can also send multi-views. We can do multi-views within Studio, which makes it great for the individual that is punching or doing the audio. And I always tell folks that this is a great to see and work in LiveU Studio in a large 49-inch curved screen monitor, for example. And the reason is that I can have my multi-view, because we're working in tabs here. I can move the multi-view over to another monitor. I can have my control surface or my control in the center here, and I can run my audio on the right side of the screen. So it gives you that full field of view there for controlling your shows. Let's talk about outputs of LiveU Studio. One of the biggest things that with LiveU Studio is we can send out to 30 destinations simultaneously. And that's a huge thing if you have to do multiple destinations like a TikTok, Instagram Live, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. You could send that program definitely out to 30 simultaneous destinations within LiveU Studio. And of course, RTMP into LiveU Matrix, you can definitely do that. So now you can share your project or your show within the Matrix platform. And Luis is going to talk about Matrix here in a few minutes. There's so much happening with Studio. It's an amazing product. We say that this is a great product for OTT. It's a great product for breaking news. And if you need it, disaster recovery, LiveU Studio can be there if you have a disaster recovery situation where you need to get on the air fast. It's your production switcher built into a web browser in the cloud. That's a little high overview of LiveU Studio. Of course, like we mentioned, if there's any questions, please don't hesitate. Sorry, Luis, go ahead.
Yeah, so just real quick on the interface, you can see my initials. If you go back to Studio, Ed, if you don't mind.
Yep, let me bring that back up here.
For the collaboration piece, you can see who's logged into that at the same time. So you see the L for my initial there, and then you have Ed's and R there. So that's where I could be the one that's like Ed said, I could be running audio from my home office, and Ed could be running the audio or the video or graphics or whatever. So you could have multiple people logged in at simultaneously and sending content out to one of those 30 different destinations. Alongside, you could also get those, not only send them out, but also grab feeds, from either Matrix or other sources, not necessarily a LiveU source. So you could take it out from, from anything that's, NDI or WebRTC or SRT. even from third-party encoders, right? So there's several ways of taking your content in from different locations as well.
We got our first question here from David Luis. David's asking, LiveU Studio, what about direct Teams or Zoom integration? Can LiveU Studio work with Teams or Zoom? And David, to answer your question, the integration we can send out into Zoom. There is Zoom. I'm sorry, into Microsoft Teams. There's Microsoft Live, so you can do an RTMP into Microsoft Teams. Zoom, I need to double check. We need to double check on that because I don't think there is an easy way to get into Zoom. You could do, you know, you could possibly do an NDI type integration into Zoom. Let me get back to you on that. We'll definitely get back to you that on that. But that's a great question. Great question. You know, like we mentioned, Studio, brand new. We introduced it there, a huge response there at NAB. So we're very excited about this product. We really think it's going to help enhance a lot of our clients' workflows and be an additional tool for you to use in a conjunction with your field encoders day in, day out. Luis, Matthew's asking here, can LiveU Studio handle some kind of mix minus audio for return IFB so contributors can hear the show but not themselves?
I think there's a way to do that, right? But that's I don't know if that's, I don't know. I think you've done it before, right?
Yep. So Matthew, yeah. So LiveU Studio, internal to the system, it can do mix minus. So if you have your multiple web callers coming in, they can definitely have mix minus, so they won't hear themselves. And the great thing about Studio is on the return caller, they actually have sort of a tally light system there. It'll tell them when they're in preview, when they're off air, and of course on air there. But they will be able to hear a program in addition to seeing different return feeds that you decide to send to them. Actually, I'll go ahead and share my screen one more time here. And we can take a look at how we send stuff back to guests. But for the IFB, yes, it will do it internally in the system. Yes, sir.
But there's definitely we're definitely working on a new version that should be released soon, where we will have the intercom audio connect functionality from LiveU integrated with Studio.
Correct, exactly. But yeah, Matthew, just to show you here, this is actually what I'm sending Alex right now back on his iPhone. And the great thing is I can come in here and change the template here, and I can say, maybe I want to send him this view right here. And now I can come into Studio and tell it, okay, maybe he wants to see this input here. I can send him the winter storm, and we can send him the intro, and I can send them this image. And then what happens is I apply the change, and now on Alex's phone, the multi-view will appear just like that. So really powerful system. And like Luis said, it's evolving. New features are always being introduced into it. So IFB, to answer your initial question, will be coming definitely soon to it. So. And keep those questions coming. We'll definitely have a Q&A session at the end here. So, Luis, I think another exciting thing that we saw was LiveU Ingest at NAB. You want to tell us a little bit about LiveU Ingest?
Sure. Let me go ahead and share my desktop now. All right. So what we have here is we have LiveU Ingest basically allows you to record content, any content that you've got coming in from a LiveU backpack, from an encoder, from an encoder to your LiveU MMH servers, right? So anything that you have, a lot of times people want to be able to think of it kind of as a DVR. You can do DVR. Sometimes people want to go a step above that and get, let's say, for example, you have iNews or ENPS or whatever, and you want to take the metadata from that and associate that with, from the rundown, and associate it whenever you have a backpack or encoder out in the field. So let's say I have an encoder. So hopefully you guys are able to see my desktop here. If I want to start the stream, right, it's going to ask me story selection here. So essentially what we're doing is we're grabbing the metadata from your rundown from, in this particular case, it's iNews, right? So iNews would have all the rundown information. So I would select whatever one I want, and then I would hit start, right? So now from here on out, that clip or that, once we start recording it, it's going to be associated, all the metadata is going to be associated to this particular clip, right? So inside the metadata, it'll be all the iNews information, the tags from that. So now once I start recording this, about 30 seconds after it started recording, I should go into ingest. So this is what we call ingest here. So the way to access ingest is you simply click on this little button here, and then you would hit ingest here, and you'll be able to see ingest over here on this side. So these are all the clips that have already recorded, right? So anything that's in here is content that's already recorded. Once I after a short period of time, you'll be able to see the clip that's actually recording in here. So it hadn't shown up yet, but you give it about, like I said, about 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and it'll show up in here. Once that clip is in, you can click it, and then you can open up that file here. So notice here, it just showed up here, right? So I'm opening up another one, but I've got the clip here. I've got all the metadata that was added from ENPS or iNews or wherever it is. Again, you don't have to have that. You can just use it as kind of as a DVR and add the metadata yourself. But it's something that you can definitely use. So once it's in there, I can open up that file and I could trim that, right? So let's say, for example, it's a 1 hour recording that you've got, but I want to trim it. I want to take that first segment out. I can go in here and trim that video, right? So once I trim that video, I say, okay, I want the first segment from here to here, right? And then I trim it. So what we do is we actually create a brand new subclip. So we're basically creating a whole new file. And then we have that available, so that way, and then that file gets recorded over to either a cloud-based server or a physical on-prem server, depending on what workflow you want. You can do either one, right? So if you have your own S3 bucket, then we could actually record directly to that. Or if you want LiveU to host that, we could do that as well. Or like I said, if you have your own on-prem MMH server and ingest server, we can do that as well. But typically, it's going to be with your existing MMH server that you have now. There may need to be we may need to add more storage to that for the MMH server, but otherwise, it's pretty much the one that you have now. And then the cloud server is what you definitely would need to add to that. So now anyways, once you've trimmed that file, you can download that file locally to your computer, right? So you'll have that file here. You can download that file, right? You can save as and record it, save it, and then use it for whatever you want to edit or do whatever you want to do with that file. I think that's pretty much it for this piece. And once I go back here, so I have that file here, and here's the recording file. Again, you can also trim a recording file once it's recording, right? Obviously, you're going to be able to, you'll kind of stay behind what's actually, right? So, it's what so far what it's recorded. I can trim anything that's already recorded from there. Once I do the trim, and then that becomes available. Okay. So notice here, what it does is it needs to create that file. So it just takes a little bit of time for it to actually start creating that additional file and makes that available for you. Once it's in, then we can send it to your MAM system. If you have a MAM or if you just want these files to be, if you have like a Telestream or whatever, you can actually have those files sent over to that, and then from there, then your NLE system can actually grab those files and go from there. Like I said, if there's metadata in there, then we can also send that also to your MAM system as well.
And Luis, a lot of customers have asked, when you're trimming, like you were showing the demonstration of you trimming there a second ago, that's non-destructive, right? We're not actually making any changes to the main master file that's still recorded.
Correct. Yeah, we create a whole new subclip, so that it'll be a completely different file that we're generating.
Awesome. We've got a
Wait.
couple questions. Oh, go ahead, Joyce. Sorry.
No, I was going to say the same thing. We've got a couple of questions, so we can start with Jay Souls. Can LiveU ingest files be shared across stations within the same ownership group directly from on-prem hardware or cloud-based infrastructure?
Yes, yes, yes. And in fact, we're actually in the process of setting up a PLC that's actually doing exactly that. So yes.
Okay, and then Matthew's question is ability to store and call up pre-produced clips, question mark, MP4, etc.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, I think Matthew, I think you're asking if you want to be if you have your own clips, can you upload those in there? If it comes through your MMH server, so you can get it that way and put it into ingest that way. So if you do a store and forward, not that type of workflow, but if it's live coming into your MMH server, LiveU ingest will look at that and record that, and then you can do it that way. Hopefully that helps.
What wrapper and codec do these files use?
I think right now it's is it MPEG-4? Or
that's coming, I believe. It's on the roadmap. And I believe right now when you download it, if we're talking about when you download it, it's a TS file right now currently. But the other formats are coming. But I believe it's a TS file.
It's a TS file until it gets recorded, right? And once it's recorded, I think it's like a, I forget exactly which format it is, but there's a format. I was thinking it's a motion JPEG, but I could be wrong on that.
Gotcha. Joyce, looks like we got one more here from Arco.
His is more of a comment.
Oh, gotcha.
We are IP friendly. It will work in the cloud on-prem or you can host.
Gotcha.
And then Matthew, just let us know if we answered all your questions. Okay.
Yeah, it's a great tool. I mean, like Luis was mentioning, I mean, definitely, you know, you probably have your own recording system, your own ingest system, but hey, are the times we are human when we forget to hit record, and LiveU ingest has your back there because it is always recording when your content comes in. And it's also great for your digital media folks that maybe don't want to wait for that breaking news to go to editing. They can now come in, grab the clip there that Luis was showing by trimming it, and get that up to your social media platforms very, very quickly. Now, not only was ingest introduced at NAB, Luis, a lot of changes to LiveU Matrix as well.
Yeah, sure. So let me show you guys a little bit of Matrix. All right, so here's what we're all kind of used to seeing in Matrix now, right? So you have your feeds pane, your pools pane, your local receivers, and so forth. If you want to do a dynamic share, then you have to go into a kind of a hidden little icon here, right? So here is our new matrix. So if you notice here within matrix, I kind of let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see a little bit more. So now with matrix, we have obviously it's the same look and feel, but there's a little bit of differences here. I think the biggest one is your dynamic share functionality. So once you have dynamic share, now it's just a matter of clicking that file or clicking that icon there and then sharing that file so you can share it with anybody you want, right? So you know, you can share with you know, ESPN or whoever it is that you need to share content with. You can just as long as they're in the directory, then we can access them all on there. So let's say Jay Souls, KDFW, right? You can go to there and share content with them. So the way dynamic share is dynamic share is primarily used to share content that's outside of your station group, right? So if you're a Fox O&O station, you want to share with an ABC O&O station, then you can go in here and add them and share with them, right? So what it does is it shares your local receiver with their with whoever it is. It basically shows that it comes up in their feeds pane, right? So once that's in there, then you would just simply grab it from the feeds pane and drag it into your local receiver, right? So that's kind of the one thing here. So again, I have my dynamic share here. Here's my my request. If I want to allow it, then I can reject it or cancel the request or whatever it is. So if I was to log into as a Luis M, you would be able to see there that I would be able to approve that dynamic share. Right now, I'm logged in as Ed Lozano, so I'm not able to see that the share. I don't have that access right now. But anyway, so that's, you kind of get the idea there. Otherwise, it's a little bit cleaner. You got a cleaner look here. You can kind of hover over the different things and see who's currently who's being shared by, which are the pool members and so forth. So you kind of look at that information through here. Grab your feeds. You can grab a feed from there. Send it to a certain channel, add all the metadata that you want and so forth. So all that's kind of in here, but it's just a little bit of a different view. And really the big thing is, again, is your dynamic share functionality. Again, with dynamic share, everybody that wants access to it can get it. Now, if you want to do a paid license, the difference between a paid license and a free license, the free license is you get 30 minutes for free. Once those 30 minutes are off or over, then the share goes away. If you have a dynamic share license, whoever has that dynamic share license, let's say, for example, station A is wanting to share a feed with me. I have the dynamic share license. I can actually send them the feed, and they don't have to have that license, right? So only one station has to have the dynamic share license for it to be able to be issued. Right. So again, whoever has that dynamic share license has to be the one that initiates that, either the request or the initiating of the dynamic share. Okay, that's one thing to keep in mind. Of course, here you have these little stars here for making your favorite channel, so it shows up on the top of the list. If you untick it, right, it'll come back down to the bottom of the list. Otherwise, that's pretty much it within Matrix. Any questions on Matrix?
So Jay has asked, when is the new Matrix GUI rolling out to users?
So the new Matrix GUI is actually available now, but it's still kind of in beta testing at the moment. I think it's coming out here in the next month or so. Okay,
and then Arco is asking, can I have SRT inputs in Matrix RTMP? Question mark.
Yes, you can. So there's a license required for that. So let's say, for example, I have a camera that outputs an SRT stream. And I want that camera. Let's say, for example, I want beauty shots, right? So I want every city that let's say, for example, the Fox O&O stations as an example. Every single city that they have, if that camera outputs either an RTMP or an SRT stream, I can basically make those feeds available within Matrix. So then within Matrix, I would go in here and set it up as an SRT output. So it's going to be basically here, and I just simply take those feeds, out, and it's always going to be available to any other station that wants to access them. But yeah, so definitely that's absolutely something that you can do. Obviously, on the other end, if you want to send out, right, you want to output an SRT stream, you could also do it through here. You go to manage, right? Go to manage channels, and then you would select your one of your ports. Once I have my port selected, I can go in and select what I want here. So stand by me. My desktop is. Hold on 1 second. There it is. All right, so now I go in here streaming, and I go here. I can select either an RTMP stream or a SRT output as well. So if I go in here, if I do the test, I believe I have those set up as okay. Actually, I think these are somebody else's. But yeah, so anyways, it'll be in this option here. To enable the SRT. There it is. SRT, infect transport stream, RTSP, and so forth. So you can basically select any one of those. Okay. So again, those are for outputs. And again, the inputs are going to be inside Matrix here. And I could select those and configure it to take an SRT So as an example, each station would set up their own SRT camera. If in the example of those beauty shots, then they would be able to make those available to every station that's in their station group. All right, any questions?
Hey, Luis, a comment. I think dynamic share is going to be a huge tool. I mean, for our customers here, for sharing that content. I mean, the license, a lot of customers have asked, you know, is it just for 24 hours? Is it for an hour? But like you said, it's there until someone says delete on one side or in the feed, right?
Correct. Unless it's the free version. The free version will automatically stop after 30 minutes. But the actual, because in dynamic share, if you have the license, you can actually start it and you can tell it when to eject automatically. Or if you don't, it'll just continue, you know, in perpetuity, it'll continue to share it as long as you tell, you know, until you tell it to stop. Right. So, yeah. So, you know, it's important for, like, let's say you have a regional game that, you know, 5 or 6 stations are, you know, like I know up north, they do hockey games and they'll do dynamic share and they'll share those feeds with each other for like 3 days. And then once those 3 days are over, then they'll remove the dynamic share and then, you know, go back to normal. But yeah, so you can definitely do those dynamic shares in perpetuity if you wanted to.
Yeah, and that's of course part of the Matrix family there, in addition with distribution feeds and pool feeds, etc.
Sure.
A lot of things just like Matrix and Ingest and LiveU Studio were introduced at NAB this year. We're going to be talking about other new products like LiveU Link, our mobile MMH, on future Tech Tuesday shows. As always, reach out to your salesperson, your sales engineer. If you have any comments, if you want to do demos, we're always more than happy to do these demos or to send you demo units. Please reach out to us. And of course, we appreciate everybody's time here today. And we'll look forward to seeing you all on the next Tech Tuesday. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate y'all.